Hello and welcome to Western Perspective. Well, she's the founder and leader of the One Nation Party, who's not afraid to voice her opinion. Pauline Hanson has spoken her mind about the issues affecting the Australian social and political landscape, sparking controversy with her views. As she supports One Nation candidate Rod Caddies in the Darling Range by-election, she spoke about youth, Australia's media and the state of her party in an exclusive interview.
Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for talking to us today.
My pleasure, thanks for having me on.
What brings you all the way to WA?
Well, I've got a very special candidate standing for the Darling Range, Rod Caddies, and I'm here to support him, as I should as National President of the party, and I'm pleased to say that Rod's standing.
But then, at the end of the day, it's still a tough competition. It's still...
Oh, of course.
Yes, well, whether it's Labor, Liberal or even One Nation...
Oh no, but we're changing that. We're changing that because people want someone else to vote for other than the major political parties because they're fed up with them. And I think it's important to have One Nation and other minor parties, and I congratulate all candidates who want to stand for Parliament, whether they're independent or the minor parties, because there has to be change. A lot of people are angry at the direction the country is going. They want change, and you can only get that change if you've got other people prepared to stand.
Speaking about voting, the next generation, particularly the young voters, believe that they're very disconnected from politics. Do you know why?
Look, I don't think there's enough of political education that's taught in our schools. They have the young ones coming through around about grade 6 or 7 to Parliament House in Canberra, but then there's no more education on politics prior to that. And a lot of kids leave school, they don't even understand about voting. They don't understand the different levels of government, and with local, state and federal, they don't know the difference. And we need to get it back into the educational system.
Now, most important, that the viewers who watches this program, a lot of them are young adults.
Yeah.
And the question I'm always going to ask is, young people issues are mainly to do with jobs, their futures, and most importantly, their health. And what do you make of the current state? I mean, the jobs are failing. Why the jobs are failing, in your opinion?
Oh, look, the apprenticeship schemes have been cut dramatically, so we're not offering apprenticeship schemes for people. We push young ones onto further education. Not everyone are going to go on to be, professionals. We're not allowing them the opportunity to actually have the trades, and we should get back to that. And that's why we're lacking tradespeople in this country. I think we need to promote that more. They've shut down TAFE colleges across the country, and there's no incentives. We haven't given enough incentives to businesses to take on apprentices. Now, under my scheme that I've proposed to the government I'm pushing for 1,000 apprenticeship pilot scheme at the moment. So that means that government will pay the employer 75% of the first year's wage, 50% of the second, 25% of the third. And it's a pilot scheme for 1,000 apprentices, and I hope and I know that more businesses will put on the young apprentices. We've just make it too easy for people to get on New Start allowances, to get on the dole. We're getting people with third and fourth generation who've been on the dole. That's not good enough. We've lost the work ethic in Australia, and we've got to actually change that way of thinking.
What about drugs? Especially ice in the epidemic, particularly in regional areas, not really being properly addressed. And what do you make of the current stance at the moment?
Because they can't address it, they don't know how to address it, and they're not tough enough on those that are pushing the drugs. And I actually I went through the Federal Police headquarters in Sydney just recently in the last 6 weeks. The amount of drugs there that they're holding, and it's amazing what they have. It's to the value of just over $1 billion worth of drugs there, about 5 tonnes of drugs that they're picking up in our system. You've got people in rural and remote areas that feel that there's no future for them, they're depressed. Someone comes out and says, listen mate, we'll give you drugs, and they're buying the drugs. We need to come down harder on these ones that are pushing drugs. I mean, really hard on them. And this is why I find it the major political parties, and especially the Labor Party and the Greens, the coalition wants to push for drug testing. Those that are on a welfare payment, random drug testing, I think it's a good idea, so that those kids out there who are on drugs, receiving Newstart or an allowance, welfare payment, they may be picked up and have to do a drug test. The parents then know their kids are on drugs and they have to clean up their act. And yet the Labor and the Greens are knocking this back. I'm all for it.
And some young people particularly felt that they're very disconnected from politics. And if they go into casting booth and say, what's in it for me? Can you tell me what's in it for them?
Now, it's amazing that you actually say that the young people feel disconnected, yet the Greens are putting up a private members bill, and it's still John who's here, a senator here, so he actually wants to reduce the voting age to 16. Now, you just said...
Should it be reduced?
No, of course it shouldn't be reduced. You just said they're disconnected. That's what your words. And I'm saying no, they shouldn't, because they don't understand politics enough to go and vote. These kids at 16, what's their experiences in life? You know, what they've been taught in our socialist universities or our schools, pushing their own agenda. They haven't experienced life. They haven't had a job. They've never gone out to do anything. They haven't paid taxes. They have no idea. So you want to give them the vote? There's more to life than that. They have to experience life to understand why they're voting and how they should be voting.
Should it be raised then? To raise to 21?
Well, it's 18. Look, I've considered that to 21, but I think at 18, if they've, I have considered it, that it should be raised to 21. But if they are old enough to go and fight for their country, and the other responsibilities, they can drink, well, you know, it's a general feeling the public leave it at 18, but to reduce it lower, no.
If you remember the $100,000 degree thing, the Greens did talk about then. I believe that you obviously know about this. Do you believe that education in Australia has become very unaffordable for young people?
No, I don't. Not at all.
Why not?
Because there's a HEX scheme. They can actually borrow the money from the government, from the taxpayers, and they can actually go and get their education if they want to. I think we're a very, a country that wants our children, our kids to get further education, but don't take it for granted. There are hard-working Australians that are paying their taxes. They're given these opportunities. Do you know our HEX debt is at $42 billion owing to the taxpayers of this country? That's people who've gone on to go further education, get their degrees, taken it for granted, and haven't paid back their debt to the Australian people.
But a lot of young people believe that education should be free. So you believe that uni should not be free at all?
No, it shouldn't be free.
Why
should be free?
How are they going to get ahead?
No.
They're not going to afford uni in the first place, even though some people say, I don't want to play HEX debt.
Yeah, they're going on to get a higher education to actually then get a better pay in their life. So what about the kids? What about the ones that are out there working? What about the taxpayers that are actually working at their 15 or 16 because they can leave school at 15? What about they're paying, you know, their taxes so someone can go to uni as if it's for free?
You have to deal with mainstream media all the time, whether you like it or not, because this is part of public life. Can you answer me bluntly? Do you hate the mainstream media?
No, I don't hate the mainstream media, but mainstream media, instead of doing the job, report the facts, let the people judge me. A lot of these journalists have their own opinions, and then not putting across a balanced view, as we've said about the ABC, and that's why we've actually called for a fair and balanced in their reporting.
Should it be privatised?
Yes.
Why? But despite this, a cultural institution, the ABC is part of the public's voice, so why should it be privatised?
It is, because there's so many other media outlets out there as well. Or if I'd like to see, what they should do is roll the SBS into the ABC under one umbrella, give them a station to themselves. You've got the ABC with four stations plus all the radio outlets. Yes, it's great, and I think some of the interviews that they put across is very good, and people like the ABC radio that they get. But get back to fair and balanced, because they're not fair and balanced. They're so left, and it's not giving a good, fair and balanced view to the Australian public.
Are you sure there won't be outcries though? Because Bob Hawke tried it a long time ago when he was Prime Minister. There may be plans to merge ABC and SBS. It was very controversial back then. Are you sure that the government has enough strength to do this?
Look, if you roll the SBS in, which is costing around about $285 billion a year, to actually run it. Not billion, sorry, 285 million to actually run it. They do make money back on the SBS through their advertising, but the ABC, we're looking at $1 billion a year to run that organisation. That's a lot of money of taxpayers' dollars, and we need value for money these days.
Now, 2 more questions before you go. The first question is, no matter how hard you fight, there's always a saying called David versus Goliath. In this case, it's David versus 2 Goliaths. Are you confident? Are you confident? May I ask, are you confident that Rod can make it?
I'm very confident with my candidate, Rod Caddy. So I think he's a fantastic candidate. And, Rod's put his hand up. You are right. It's David fighting Goliath. Yeah, but the 2 Goliaths. But look, it gives the people an opportunity to vote for someone different. And the response that I've had from just arriving this afternoon in the last few hours from the people here has been absolutely amazing. The people are wanting someone different, right? The people that I'm picking up, thank goodness you're in politics, You are an inspiration. You are someone that we trust. You're honest. We're sick of the major political parties. It's about me building the strong foundations of the party to get strong, credible candidates onto the floor of Parliament to carry on what I've started, what I expect of the people who represent my party.
Last question is, despite there was a bit of a drama last week and the week before and also this week regarding in your colleagues in the upper house, why are you confident that your candidates can remain bound together and loyal and not disbanded?
Oh, hang on a minute. What about the candidate who was with the Darling Range? Wasn't he Labor? Then he actually went independent, and didn't he actually lie to the people?
He was sacked by
yes, but hold on. Doesn't every party have their problems, have their issues with candidates? And another thing, how many years have they been around compared to One Nation? So anyway.
Very long.
Yes, and they're still having their problems, and they will always have their problems. And how many of them lost their seats in Parliament with the citizenship debacle? So it's not only One Nation, and we will, and all political parties will have these problems because, no, you can't guarantee any candidate. But I can honestly say to the people of Western Australia, we are doing stringent, tight tests now with our candidates, and I expect them to actually stand up to my principles, my values, what I demand of the candidates, because this is too important to me to get true representation on the floor of Parliament for all people, for all Australians.
Pauline, thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And that's all the time we have for this week. Guys, it's back to you.
Thank you, Nelson. That's our weekly news and current affairs. For all the latest happenings, you can visit our website and Facebook page.
From Danny and myself and the rest of the team, until 8 o'clock next Sunday, a very good evening to you.
Good night.